Welcome back everyone. It's time for us to go and take a look at the Samsung Galaxy Note 10 and see how this phone holds up in the later part of 2022. Now, as I've talked about throughout the remainder of this year, the Note 10 is one of those devices that is so interesting because it's one of the last Note devices. We got the Note 20, but since then we've got the S22 Ultra, which is like a Note successor, but the Note 10 was a very decent phone. The Note 10 Plus was better, but this was the sign of the times that Samsung was pretty much removing the Note lineup, or they were stepping away from what they normally did. With the Note 10, we were getting that beautiful display, 6.3 inches, dynamic AMOLED, 1080p. It was a 60Hz panel, which was kind of a downside because the Note 9 panel was so much better than this thing. We had USB-C and an S Pen, but other than that, we were removing that, SD card, we were removing that headphone jack. And as I said before, you should only do one thing at a time. If you try to do everything at one time, it kind of flops it for at least like a generation or two, but you can get back on your feet. And Samsung is killing it right now with their S, Fold, Flip, and their A series as well. And the Note 10 triple camera setup on the back as well, which still holds up very well in this day and age. Wide, ultra-wide telephoto lens. And this is what I've always mentioned. Having those types of I/O, or having those types of cameras on this type of phone, future-proofs yourself for a long period of time. Especially having that 4K 60 on the front and the back will do wonders for the future of this phone. And even now in the later part of 2022, almost over 3 years this phone has been out right now, it's actually very insane seeing how great this phone has been holding up for the last few years. And like I said before, I am a massive fan of that for a fact. Now another big thing with this phone is that the Galaxy S10 came out the same year. Now when you compare the Note 10 to the S10, you're removing that micro SD card slot, you're removing the headphone jack, and I would argue that the S10 is a better phone overall than this specific device, even though you were getting, I guess, kind of like a faster chipset sometimes in this one, maybe like more RAM or something. Not even, it's the same amount of RAM, it's the same chipset. There's not even the 855 Plus or variants on this one. So you are getting practically the same speed and the same performance on this type of phone. So it really didn't even make too much sense to buy a Note 10 in that specific example either, because the Galaxy S10 was a way better phone that came out earlier this year, meaning that this phone could have probably been an even more expensive phone than the Galaxy S10, especially in the used market. So that is another big thing that I kind of saw to myself. Now with the Galaxy Note 10, I think this phone kind of sits at a very interesting spot. For one, it's kind of unsupported with software, so it didn't get One UI 5, but One UI 4 is still a very recent version of software that just came out. So it's not even that old in that standpoint. So it's not like you're picking up like a severely old phone. It's still kind of supported with security updates and stuff. So I wouldn't even be really worried about it in that standpoint. But when I look at something like the Galaxy Note 10, I feel like this is a phone that if it just kind of had an SD card slot, this thing would have easily been supported for a long period of time. So I think that in and of itself is a really cool thing for sure as well. So when it comes down to it, I think the Galaxy Note 10 kind of sits at a very interesting spot. Personally, I probably wouldn't recommend buying it. I wouldn't recommend having this as your first phone to buy. I'd recommend looking into the Galaxy S10 if you still want an older phone that's kind of supported, not really, or just go for the Galaxy Note 20. Probably I would highly recommend the S20, the S21. Those are still very cheap phones as well, but the Note 10 is still a very good phone with a ton of power, but there's better options out there in my opinion. So in terms of that kind of covers it up. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that means so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.